Welcome to Something to Talk About.
Hi, welcome to Something to Talk About. My name is Taco, and I am covering a TV show today. And that is Dunk and Egg. Wait, that's not the name of the show. Then why did I write it here? The Dunk and Egg Show. That's the name of it, right? No, I got it down there. And I did the Seven Kingdoms, episode 1 and 2. And I got a little bit of homework to get rid of before I move on. So I got a lot to cover here. I'm covering both episodes. And the reason is, well, I'm a working man, and I'm working 7 days in a row and then 7 off, and 7 days in a row and 7 off. In the time that I'm working, I'm doing 12-hour shifts, and I barely get to sleep. So, and I know you're like, we have 12 hours in between. No, it's like an hour drive. I want to eat. So sitting down and writing one of these and filming one of these is kind of out of the option, or is kind of out of the question. And so you're going to get 2 at a time. And I hope that's okay. And if what you want is me to put one out on Monday and one out on Tuesday and then be 2 different episodes, I guess I can do that. But I feel like no one's going to click something that says episode 1 review a week late, unless it also says episode 2 review. That is if no one's going to click this at all. But I put a lot of work into it, and it's going to be my own kind of mixing with the book vibe that I give. If you've never watched my stuff before, I cover Song of Ice and Fire characters and locations and some other stuff just here and there. I do live streams every month, and I'm doing one this Thursday, actually, on every Westerland sigil. But anyways, so we're gonna do this. So let's get into it. I'm gonna kind of do some setting building before I go through every episode. Spoilers for the episodes, but not spoilers for the entire show. I am going to do my best not to drop any overall show spoilers if you are not a book reader. And if you don't know what's going to happen, then I will definitely not spoil that, but I will spoil the episode. So I hope you at least watch the episodes first. And I'm going to be talking a lot about what they have and what the show is doing in relation to the books themselves. So, I also do these in one big long take, if you haven't noticed. So I'm going to be saying and maybe a couple, maybe, I don't know. So if you don't want those, probably, go watch somebody else. All right, so what is this show? That's a great question, Iguana. So let's talk about the setting. It takes place 70 years after House of the Dragon, and at 90 years before Game of Thrones. So this is almost in the middle, right? The show is based on the, quote, Dunk and Egg books, which are Hedge Knight, Sworn Sword, and Mystery Knight. So there is also a collection, because these are like small little novellas, in one book called A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. And that's probably how they got the name of this. Fancy that. So instead of following kings and lords and Games of Thrones, this is just following one tall ass knight and his little mysterious squire. You see how I said mysterious now? Because I was trying to say mysterious and squire at the same time. Mysterious Quilliquits. It gives us a look at just one guy who will be mingling with small folk, mid-sized lords, and occasionally rubbing shoulders with high lords and princes. Mostly high lords and princes this season. That's kind of like the point of this season. But so that's kind of what the show's doing as a whole. And what makes it different from House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones is House of the Dragon, the main characters are high lords and kings, right? Especially House of the Dragon, it's kings and queens. It's the Targaryen royal family. And even though we've already met a couple of the Targaryen royal family in this, Maekar, Baelor, right? It doesn't follow them. And this isn't about the major politics of A Song of Ice and Fire of Westeros. This more or less follows Dunk and Egg. And that's why they're called the Dunk and Egg books, right? Because it follows Sir Duncan the Tall and Egg. Yeah, Egg the Small. So let's get right into the family tree. So this is just mostly going to be talking about the setting, but I wanted to have this family tree up here because, well, I'm actually really proud of it. I think I would have got done writing a lot sooner if I didn't like want to make this family tree, but I'm really proud of it. It's not 100% accurate, just because I've left out a couple people here and there, and yeah, but it's accurate what I'm showing. It just leaves a couple wives out, right? But for the most part, this is what's happening with the Targaryen family from the end of House of the Dragon to now. So if you're wondering, well, where's the ones that we know about? Well, these are the ones, and I can't really tell you about the ones on House of Dragon because these would be spoilers. So this is the king that's after the first king here would be Aegon III. He's the first king after the Dance of the Dragons, or Dance with Dragons. Dance of the Dragons, the Dying of the Dragons, the big war in Hot Tea, right? So this is the family tree of Targaryens leading up till now, and the current king is Daemon II Targaryen. So anyways, after Hot Tea and the Dance of the Dragons, there was an invasion of Dorne, a holy king, an unworthy king. Well, the unworthy king's dead, and then the unworthy king, and now a good king. And that good king married a Dornish princess and brought Dorne into the fold. And after that, we had some Blackfire rebellion. See Daemon Blackfire, he's over there. And things are complicated. We have a ton of Targs and some great bastards sniffing around, right? The show at the start of the the show starts off in the Reach near Ashford Meadow in the year 209 AC, and it looks like the Reach and it feels like the Reach, so that's good. I need to calm down and take a drink of water. I've got a long ways to go, and for some reason I'm very flustered. Ooh, well, it's because you're really handsome. Or cute, whatever one you want to identify as. So now let's actually talk about the episode, but I wanted to show you the family tree, kind of tell you what's happening in the realm. We're a couple years after a Blackfire Rebellion. I want to say 17 years after a Blackfire Rebellion, and there is still tensions there. The king right now is Daemon II. He's been king for a very long time. His oldest son is the Hand of the King. That is Baelor Breakspear. I don't have any of this written down. This is all off the dome. And he's got 4 sons. Baelor is the Hand of the King and also pretty old at this point. He has sons already too. And in fact, as you see, I left out all of the current generations. So we even meet Valar Targaryen in the second episode, which we'll get to, and he doesn't even have a picture here because that next generation is stacked. All right, Maekar has a bunch of kids. Rhaegal has 3, and then Baelor and Jenna Dondarrion have 3 or 2, and Aerys, Baelor's younger brother, does have a wife. I left her off. They don't have any kids. I just didn't have any room for her. So sorry. I believe she's a Penrose. I want to say Eleanor Penrose. That's off the top of my head. If that's right, I don't know, man. Give me $1 if I remember that. If I'm not right, then I guess I'll give you $1. I'm really surprised. I'm really curious if I was right on that. So let's talk about episode 1. And the first episode's called The Hedge Knight, which is the name of the first episode. And so let's talk about the tone, right? For the most part, they start off exactly the same, with Dunk burying his father figure, Arlen of Pennytree. I love the first shot being on the horses in the rain. It really kind of makes you feel like the most important things to a Hedge Knight are their horses, right? Like he's traveling around. He doesn't have a house. His house is his horses, essentially, right? So he gives a very sweet eulogy, but the eulogy is kind of intercut with fast cuts of Arlen beating him, which is very jarring to say the least. So there's something that they do, and we'll talk about the other thing that kind of is very divisive, but this is one of them. A Game of Thrones and House of Dragon never gave us any flashbacks, except for like Maggie the Frog. It's like the only flashback we ever got, right? And I think my screen is dirty. I was thinking that it was my forehead, but no, I gotta clean my computer. All right, anyway, sorry about that. All right, so we never got any flashbacks except for like Maggie the Frog in Game of Thrones, right? That was the one. But for the most part, and Bran stuff. But for the most part, we don't get any flashbacks, right? And this, we get him right away. So that was like something like, oh, okay. But not only that, but it's kind of played for laugh, and it's also somebody beating a child for laughs, which is like not funny to me. I'm not a big fan of that. But it's from Arlen and Pennytree, and we know that Arlen and Pennytree gave a clout in the ear. It's like a big thing. I'll give you a clout in the ear, and it's less about like getting like drunk and beating up his squire. It's the punishment. Like, you do this, or have you? I give you a clout in the ear. Am I down for that kind of alerting? No, but is it the kind that Arlen does? Yes. All right. So so he's giving this sweet eulogy, and then he goes, and you never beat me for no reason, and then it flips to just him like getting smacked by Arlen, and he's like, well, except for that one time, and then it's him getting smacked. So that's what I mean by these jarring cuts. So, and we also see him have a conversation with his horses as he's trying to decide what he's trying to do, what he's like, what his goals are, right? And then we see him have a poop, and it's like this big epic Game of Thrones music starts, and then it cuts to him just like pooping behind the tree. And that's the last time the music is like that. We do get a lot of music, but a lot of it's more subdued, a lot more like somebody's in the background playing one instrument, right? Opposed to like the grand orchestra. And the grand orchestra's coming up, and then he poops him. He goes and adds a little poo-poo. And so let's stop here. This show definitely has more of a goofy tone. And since I am writing this late, I'm writing this and reading this after the second episode came out yesterday. I've seen the reactions from my fellow content creators, some really cool, like good friends of mine. And I know that these two things were very divisive just right away at the beginning, the slapping, like the quick cuts to somebody getting hit, and also the pooing. But honestly, I do like the tone because I want it to feel like it's his own show. The flashbacks are very much something that Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon did not do. But also, the crude humor still is something that Game of Thrones did. So, like, we've always had that crude humor, but I think it's because it's more silly. This seems more playful about it. Like, it's kind of taking the piss, if you will, right? Less dark. And I think for the most part, this show will be way less dark. Like, hey, spoilers, Dunk doesn't get his head cut off at the episode before the season finale, right? This isn't Game of Thrones. We're not going to have a big, epic main character death, right? I'm not saying we don't have character deaths. It is George. But the point I'm trying to make is Game of Thrones is super dark. It's a very dark show, and more than just tone, but mostly tone. In the books, the Duncan Egg books kind of aren't. So I kind of really like it being a little more tongue-in-cheek, a little more goofy. Do I say I like seeing this big, huge, tall dude poop? No, that would be weird if I said that just now. Well, not that I would tell you guys anyways. But no, I do. I mean, I don't know if that joke so on land, but I landed. But I absolutely get what they're going for, and I'm kind of here for it. So it's a bit much at times. Wait until I talk about season 2 or episode 2. But yeah, if it's not your style, that's okay. It doesn't. Not everything has to be your style. You know, do what you want. You're your own person, your own tone. You know, wrong guy, wrong tone. All right, so let's talk about meeting Egg. Also, let's say off the bat, Peter Claffey kills it in this opening, right, and in the entire show so far. So he might be too old and too short. So Peter Claffey is the actor who plays Dunk. But I would say it's very hard to find a 7-foot-tall teenager because Dunk in the books is like still a teenager. I want to say he's like 17 at this point, and he's 7 feet tall. So not only, like, I'm sure there are 7 feet tall 17-year-olds out there, and maybe there's some that are actors, but are they actors who can carry an entire Game of Thrones type show? Probably not. Like, there's a lot of expectations, right? So it'd be really hard to find the perfect casting. And the fact is this guy's like 6 something. I'm not saying 6'7". I knew you were gonna. I know you assumed I was gonna do that, but I'm not gonna do that. But he's like 6 something and older. He's like 28. So what? Like, I'm okay with that only because if you expected them to get that casting absolutely perfect, book accurate, it's not gonna happen. But they got it pretty close. and he's really good. I really like his acting. I gotta go watch some more stuff with him in it. So yeah. For the most part, this opening is spot on, except for the pooping behind the tree that's on in the book. And the words he is saying out loud to the horses is his inner monologue from the book. So they could have gone two ways. They could have gone with a voiceover, right? But they did it. They went with him talking to his horses. And I like that because, if you were alone all the time, you would speak to your horses or to a volleyball or something. Seclusion makes you, have conversations with people who aren't there. Don't ask me how I know that. He weighs his options of what he's supposed to do, and then he adds for Ashford, after his poop, and a bird watches him poop. So he goes to the a random inn, and meets Egg. I know Peter Claffey is close, like as close as we could get the book accurate, but Dexter Ansel, I think is his name, the kid who plays Egg, is spot freaking on. All right. I'll end up saying this more than once. I think I praise it again later on. Praise acting. But this kid is really good for how young he is. He was like 9 or something when they started filming this. Dude, I have nephews who, not anymore, but I had nephews who were 9. I went to their plays too. They're great and all, but what is their office? All right, so where was I? Yeah, the Dexter Ansel is really, really, really good. He takes Dunk's horse, and then Dunk goes in to get 2 dinners. He orders both of them. He does a bang bang, right? He orders 2 of the main entrees. You want this or you want this? How about both? So he runs into a drunken lordling. I'm only going to say that because I don't really want to give away who it is. That tells him to stay away from him. He says, "Oh, I saw you in my dream. Stay away from me." I won't get into spoilers, but yeah, this is still like pretty perfect. We stick really close to the books for quite a while into this first episode. So then he goes back to the stable, catches the Egg on his horse, and at this point, we have been spot on with the book, right? And as you can see, I'm going to be using a lot of art from the graphic novel, and almost every scene I could find a counterpart for. Not every scene, but pretty close. Okay, so yeah, the tourney. So now he's getting over to the tourney. This is going to be a long one, guys. I'm only getting here. All right, so the music is so damn good. I wrote that, so I'm literally just typing as I'm watching it. And yeah, I just remember him riding up in the scene that you see the picture of to the tourney at Ashford Meadow. The music is so good. And so we see Dunk arriving at the tourney at Ashford Meadow. I wish their pavilions were more colorful and less muted. Like as you see in the comic book, it seems like a lot more colorful, but maybe that's just hard to do. I don't know. They went with this. But I do like the show's focus on small folks. So we watch them putting up their lords' camps and pavilions and scrambling to get everything ready. We literally do spend a lot more time with servants watching them get everything going, right? Like the Lord of Ashford can just say like, "I want a tourney," and they can just go back to his phone or whatever they had back then, right? Whatever they had instead of phones, cup and ball, Rubik's Cube, whatever lords did to fidget spinners, right? He goes back to his fidget spinner, and then hundreds of people then go work all day to get the thing that he said, right? It's like, "I want to run a tourney, get on it," and then he like leaves, right? So we get to see the people who he goes, "Get on it." We get to see those people build everything and it's a really quick flash cut, but I liked it. So Dunk heads in to speak to the Master of Game Plumber. So this is a tad out of order, and I'm going to talk about order a lot. So in the book, he does this the next day. He does this around, sometime around where the second book would be. And instead, on his first night, all he does is speak to Steely Pate about armor, which is something they don't do in the first episode because they push that to the next. So that's it. He literally sees a puppet show in this first night and then goes to Steely Pate, and then he kind of goes to his camp. Like I might be missing something else, but I don't really think I am. There isn't too much on that first night. And this isn't at night when he's getting there. It's during the day, and we get a lot more stuff this first day. So let's put all that aside. So his talk with Plummer is pretty close. The Ashford chair bit is made up when Plummer is like, oh, if I find out you're lying, we're going to cut your whatever and shove something up your whatever. I'll go with the Ashford chair. That's made up. That's booked. That show stuff, but it was pretty funny. I like the detail that when he is telling Plummer about when he was when he was knighted, he describes the robin in the tree, which is actually the robin who watched him poop. So this is the first hint that Dunk was never knighted. And it's never confirmed in the books, only strongly hinted at that he wasn't. He never in his inner monologue, he goes, well, since I'm lying and I'm not a knight, he never says that. But we're pretty sure he wasn't knighted, right? So this is a huge part of Dunk's character. He is the, quote, true knight. So he tries to protect the weak, and he acts with honor as a knight should. It's something that he thinks Arlen instilled in him as a Hedge Knight, of being this pure knight, this true knight, chivalrous, honorable knight, right? Protects the weak. Like, that's what he thinks a knight is. Even though chances are he's not a knight, but he is a, quote, true knight. He has these values that a knight should have. And this is a knock on the social hierarchy that most knights are born into privilege, and they just get their knighthood by serving other knights who are born in the privilege, right? And they never act like a true knight. By that, I mean, you're, let's say you're the second son of House, name one, Prester, right? House Prester in the Westerlands, right? That's a house, look it up. And you're just hanging out, you're a House Prester, you have money, you're a lord, or your dad is, maybe they're landed knights, whatever. You don't got to worry about it, right? And then you're like old enough to be a page, and then your dad makes a deal with a bigger house, House Lannister, and he makes that deal, so then you are now a page for the Lord's son of Lannister, or the Lord of Lannister. And then after a little while, you get to be a squire because you're serving him. You're not learning how to be a perfect knight. You're not learning how to be an honorable knight. You're just serving a guy who needs a couple servants. And then after a while, if you show a little bit of prowess, if you do a little bit of fighting, maybe you get knighted. And I know that that's a broad generalization, but that is the majority of what knighthood comes from in this world, right? And that is, an easy track. And they're never taught the values. Maybe some of them, like maybe some lords are all really into this stuff. But for the most part, they're not taught the same way that Dunk was by Arlen of, like modesty and like chivalry and honor and protecting the weak. That's not really something that a High Lord really thinks about. Again, there are outliers, right? But I'm making a broad generalization here. So the point I'm trying to make is that this is absolutely like a major part of Dunk's character, is the fact that he is a, quote, true knight, even though he is most likely not knighted, right? And we have the exact same theme with Brienne of Tarth, who was not knighted because she's a female. But even though she is likely related to Dunk, which is really funny. But they are true knights that are not actually knights. Right? Brienne does the same thing. She tries to act honorably. She thinks that a knight is this big, important, specific thing when it's not. And she's not even a knight, right? So this shows us that you don't need privilege or some ceremony to be honorable and protect the weak, right? That the greatest, quote, true knights and the greatest knights are just people. Like they didn't get that title, right? And that's the point of Dunk, and that's a major theme of Dunk, and it's a major theme of Brienne as well. And that's where you kind of see it here, is the first hint that Dunk isn't knighted. All right, that was a lot. Moving on, the Fossoids. So, yeah, after he leaves after talking to Plummer, and then he's sent to go find somebody to vouch for him. So he heads to find Manfred Dondarrion because he saw his pavilion later on. And this is our deviation point from the books for a little bit. His conversation with the two sex workers is all new, but I like it. And it reminds us that Hedge Knights are lowborn and they are just servants like sex workers. And this is going to get brought up again later. But if what you do is you serve and work for the High Lords of the Knights, you're with the rest of the servants, and the red-haired ladies call him sad, right? And walk off. I'm going to get back to this point later, so I'm not going to drive the nail all the way in. I will later. So now we run into the Fossaways. So Stefan, the angry one, and Raymond, the younger one. Again, this is out of order, and it should have happened the next day, just like the talk with Plumber should have happened the next day. But I welcome it. It does good to spread out character intros, and I love Raymond Fossaway. And I have, I've covered him before. I do have an older video for him. But yeah, it plays out just like in the books, including the "it's mine by rights" line that Dunk says about his sword when Stefan questions him. A strange defensive line that a robber knight would say. And I love it because Stefan's like, well, that's a weird thing to say. So it plays on how awkward Dunk is. I won't go so far to say Dunk is stupid. I will say that he is thick as a castle wall, but calling him dumb is kind of a little broad general. I don't really like that. Well, for one, I don't even really like that word, but he's not educated like other people, but he's also kind of awkward. And a lot of his awkwardness, not reading situations, comes off as unintelligent. I wouldn't call Dunk unintelligent, but yeah, it's a lot like not reading social situations. His like, hey, is that a sword? Because Stefan's like, you want to fight? And instead he's like, yes. After this guy died, I took it. Why? Wait, what? You know, like it's awkward, and he doesn't really think things through, right? So then after this, he heads off and bathes in a stream. Now, this is something that he does on the first night in Ashford in the book. So him swimming or bathing in a river is actually a book thing. And I do like that they gave it a justification, because in the scene a couple scenes ago with the sex workers, they say something about how he smells. So it gives the bath scene a point to exist. And I thought that was cool. I liked it. I thought that was really, I love them justifying it. So yeah, a boy from nothing. So now more non-book stuff. Back to Red and Bioni, I think, is the other sex worker, and with a third lady named Daisy, and they are prepping Daisy for a funeral. She's not actually dead, but they are prepping her like she is dead for some weird dead girl foreplay. And I do want to say right now, I don't normally kink shame, but this time I do. Gross. That's gross. Enough said. That's it. All right. So Red says a great line here. And she says, it, referring to Dunk, she calls Dunk it must put its body at hazard for the pleasure of strangers. So this adds, and then she says, one whore to another, right? This line hammers the nail even further that I was just talking about, that if you are not highborn, you are a prostitute in the eyes of the rich. No matter what. If you are not one of us, and I pay you and you do stuff, you're dirt. You're low, down. You're down because you're a servant. That's it. I pay you for, sexual stuff. Well, I pay you to do this. You're a prostitute no matter what. And that's the point I was trying to bring up earlier of him feeling that way of being a hedge knight, right? The social hierarchy of this world. So yeah, that's it. She literally says it, which I think is really great. So yeah, great stuff. Dunk asks if they need to mock him. Like, do you really need to mock me? And then Red completely changes her tone. Like she realizes she's being a jerk, and it really does seem like she kind of backs off there. And I thought that was really cool. And she tells him to be good to his body because he only has one. And now for the giant odd puppets, we get to the puppet show, and the puppets are like life-size puppets. Besides the puppets being human size, this is something he sees in night one. It's one of the other things that he sees that should be in episode 1. And I do understand that they needed the move stuff if they wanted to end this first episode with him going to the camp. But and they added some other stuff, but they also put some stuff to night 1 over to night 2, which is odd. I don't know. They move a lot of stuff around. So yeah, but a puppet show is a thing that he sees in night 1. And we meet Tanzil Tutal. We learn her name next episode, who is telling the story of Serwyn of the Mirror Shield. And she says a line in this play, if you will, this puppet play. She says, "A boy from nothing risks it all." And yeah, you don't need me to tell you the subtext here. Hell, it's pretty much text. It's not even subtext at this point. He is a knight from nothing, right? That's the whole point, is that Dunk is going to risk it all. He's making, he could have taken it easy, sold the horse, been a man-at-arms somewhere, man-at-arms somewhere, joined a city watch somewhere, but he doesn't go that route. He is risking it all to be a hedge knight, right? And that's exactly what Tanzil Tutal is saying about Serwyn of the Mirror Shield. He is a knight that came from nothing, and he might need to fight a dragon. It's some more foreshadowing. And yes, I mean a literal dragon. I don't. The Targaryens don't have dragons. And just like in the book, he is watching the puppeteer more than the puppets. And that is a line straight out of the book, and you can see that they convey that here, is he is making eye contact with Tanzil. He's not really watching the cool dragon stuff, right? He is like, cutie. What's with the cutie? But yeah, and I get it. I like cuties too. So yeah, the Laughing Storm. Now we're cooking, guys. So more show stuff, non-book stuff. Raymond Fossaway walks up and calls him half man, and then he's like, a half man? He's like, half man, half giant. And he tells him about Stefan. So this is all jumbled. These lines, not the half man, half giant part, but him explaining the Fossaway branches and his cousin, that happens in the scene that we saw earlier that actually happens later, right? So it's all jumbled up. But we learn a little bit more about the Fossaways, which is cool. And he says like how Stefan likes to meet up with his foes in the stands so he can beat them up, or not in the stands, but before the tourneys so he can beat them up, so when he fights them later, it's easier. So yeah, Raymond asks if he is hungry and then leads them to the Baratheon tent. So all of this is new. But I like the scene. But this is a giant change. And not only is it a giant change because we don't meet Lyonel Baratheon yet. We don't meet him until we see him joust, which would have been the end of the next episode, right? Not only is the timing, not even the timing, this is a brand new scene created just for the show, which is okay. Lyonel Baratheon is different, massively. And I want to say this right away. The biggest change is Lyonel himself, who in the books is massive. He's a big dude, right? He is one of the best fighters around. And as much as I was confused at first, when I first saw him, I'm like, that's Lyonel Baratheon? Daniel Ings, I want to say is his name. The actor is just super dang talented, and he steals every scene. I absolutely love this portrayal. It's not in any way, I would have never guessed in a million years this is how you do Lyonel Baratheon, but he almost comes like off. He looks a lot like Oscar Isaac, but like he really comes off in a very, very cool way, and the guy's just oozing charisma. He is nothing how I ever pictured Lyonel Baratheon. But he does theme now after this to just steal every scene, including this one. And though I think they knew my casting complaint, right? I think they knew I was going to say something, because when Dunk sees him, Dunk says, I thought he would be bigger. And this is a clear reference to his size in the books. And then it made me chuckle in agreement, where Dunk sees the Lyonel Baratheon, and he's like, oh, that's the Laughing Storm, huh? And he's like, I thought he'd be bigger. And I'm like, yeah, me too. So me and Dunk, we agree. So yeah, I thought that was hilarious. So he has this great speech about jousting, and then he forgets the punchline, and then the dancing and eating starts. By he, I mean Lyonel. Lyonel talks about jousting and how it started here, And he's like, such an amazing thing can't be something made by humans. And I thought he was going to say stags did it. Because like his whole thing, Baratheon's whole thing that they got from the Durandans, not to be confused with the Dondarrions, is they're stags, right? They butt heads. They joust. One could say deer joust. And I thought that's where he was going. And then he's like, what was I saying? I don't know, let's get drunk. Here's some gold. so yeah, he's like, and then $200 for anyone can knock me over. So yeah, I thought that was really great because we don't actually find out what his point was, but I think that's what he was gonna say. So yeah, and everybody starts eating. So Lyonel watches Dunk as Dunk just walks around and eats food, which is really hilarious. And then he calls him over, and for the sake of this review, I'm going to try to cut this scene down because there's a lot going on. I'll just say that even though it's not from the book, I love this entire scene, especially the dancing and the dancing between Dunk and Lyonel. It is like half confrontational, but also flirtatious. And it's like all fun. So it's like half confrontational, half flirtatious, and half fun. I don't know if Lyonel has a thing for him or if I'm just projecting that. But I kind of got that he was kind of flirting. But I don't know. I mean, more power to you, Lyonel. Lyonel tells Dunk a story about driving his boat, you know, like, do they call it driving? Sailing? There you go. Sailing into a storm, which is more foreshadowing about the storm that Dunk is headed towards. So let's keep going. Now we're at Manfred Dondarrion, but we're going to finish off the scene we're talking about here. I'm so parched, I keep pausing to drink. Okay. So Dunk is still in the Baratheon tent, so we're not leaving that yet. And we get another thing about class disparity. So when Dunk tells Lyonel that he is strong and fast, Dunk is like, I'm strong, I am fast. And then he goes, but you have training from the best master at arms in the world. And then he goes, what chance do I have? And Lyonel says, no chance. And I love this because it's saying without the wealth and privilege, when there are people with wealth and privilege, you can only get so far, right? You need money for training. You need money for other stuff. You need the privilege of not needing to go work, right? People who have money and they don't have to work can build up their skills. I'm not building up certain skills. I'm not doing other things that somebody who just has nothing but leisure activities because I'm spending 40 to 80 hours at work, right? And I know everybody does that. I'm not saying I'm the only person who works. But the point I'm trying to make is comparing the vast differences between a High Lord who doesn't really do anything. Like they're just up there, they're High Lords. They just sit around. Yes, they rule, but whatever. They are trained. It is their job to become martial fighters, like being trained in arms, being really good at night, and then being a military commander. That's the job. All right, they do have jobs. That's the jobs they have, right? And you need the privilege of not, like, there's no guy who is tending to his crops all day who has as much time in the training yard with the people that kings and high lords have, right? So he is saying, like, dude, I am big, I am strong, but compared to people like you, what chance do I have? Because you have, like, training. And Lyonel goes, none. Like, you got nothing. So yeah, I can go on. I really love this conversation. And George has always talked class, and I think Dunk and Egg more than anything else, just because we spend so much time with small folk, is about class disparity. And if you disagree, that's fine. This is my review, and this is how I feel about it. But I absolutely think this is absolutely referring to that. 100%. So yeah, no, we finally get to the conversation after Dunk leaves between Dunk and Manfred Dondarrion, who he's been trying to hang out with this whole time, talk to him, and it's very different. Again, this in the book takes place the next day as he sits in his tent, not drunk with two ladies, right? So it's very different because remember, he doesn't talk to Plumber until the second day in the book, and then after he talks to Plumber, he goes and finds Manfred Dondarrion. But here, this is still first night, and Manfred slept all day, and now he's finally running into him. and he's hanging out with his ladies. But yeah, the point of the scene still remains, and that is, though Arlen fought for his family, well, technically Manfred's dad, and he took a wound, Manfred doesn't remember, nor does he really care. And he even says, like, I had 800 swords under me, and guys who took more pain than one wound, we already forgot to. So it's like, dude, even the ones who matter didn't matter to me. So some folks are just whores, right? And they paid them for their service. I don't have to know your name. Like, and that's kind of the vibe Manfred's getting me here is like, dude, you're a sword, or he was a sword. I paid him money. Well, we gotta like learn who he is. What are you doing? How are you? Yeah. So someone you pay for service is not a real human. I think that's really what they're trying to get in here. So, anyways, I like that Dunk tells us that the war's against a vulture king, because that is something that's from the books. That is true. Also, Manfred saying that he hung Dornishmen is great, because he is a marcher lord in the Dornish marches. They fight against Dornishmen a lot, and he likely has hanged Dornishmen. Though he should have said hanged, he said hung. But it was a dick joke. And if he said hanged Dornishmen, it would have ruined the dick joke. And she goes, oh, I thought you were Dornish. And then she's like, the other one goes, no, hung like a Dornishman. And then he goes, no, I've hung Dornishmen. But no, you don't actually say hung, you hang. You hang Dornishmen. Yeah, you can't do that. You can't ruin the dick joke, so they didn't. They went with it. Oh man, what are we doing? All right, so episode 2. Was that it? Manfred Dondarrion back at the camp? No, it isn't. I'm off. There you go. Episode 2, back at the camp. So Dunk is still alive, still in the Baratheon tent, and we get another class disparity. No, I just read that. Here we are, back at the camp. Sorry, back at the camp. So we're back to the camp and back to book stuff. Egg is waiting there for Dunk. We get another hint at to who Dunk is by him telling, who Egg is, with him telling Dunk that he is from King's Landing and not from Flea Bottom. And he's like, oh, I'm from King's Landing. And he's like, oh, Flea Bottom, which would be a place where orphan boys most likely come from. And he goes, no, not. And Dunk is surprised at how helpful Egg is. And all that is pretty much right. Yeah, all this is pretty much right out of the pages. He catches a fish that he can't raise his pavilion because he doesn't have one. And then also the origin of his name, Sir Duncan the Tall, which is great. It's all straight out of the books. And these actors are so good together. And the scene like these fit exactly how I pictured in my head for years. And that's really awesome. I love the scene with them watching the sky, and then the scene of Falling Star, which is the inspiration for Dunk's sigil that we're going to get to in the next episode. And they talk about the luck of the falling star. And Dunk asks if the luck is theirs alone, since other knights are not in their pavilions and they can't see sky. So yeah, it's a great ending to the first episode. And I absolutely freaking loved it. So yeah, that was end of the first episode. And I understand now, I've watched the first episode twice because I watched it at work. I did a 36-hour shift. So I watched it at work in a break room on one of my breaks, over like 3 breaks during my 36-hour shift. And I didn't retain anything. I wasn't taking notes. So I watched it again, like right before I filmed this. So yeah, I actually wrote the review for episode 2, which I'm about to get to in a minute here, before I wrote the one for episode 1, which is really funny. So yeah, let's just get right into episode 2, and that is with hard salt beef. So yeah, all right. So it starts with the reveal that Arlen. Oh yeah, I gotta take a breath here. So it starts with the reveal of Arlen's elephant-sized dick. So that was something. I don't know if we needed to see an old man with just a giant hog, but here we are. Another example of the show's goofy nature. Hey, look, a giant wang. Aren't we goofy? We get to a sweet opening showing Dunk's time with Arlen with a voiceover of telling of his exploits. And and it gets then it cuts over to Leo Tyrell not remembering him. I love Leo Tyrell. I should cover him at some point. Dunk and Egg have a conversation showing us Egg's fiery nature. Just then the Targaryens arrive and Egg flees. He runs off because he doesn't want the Targaryens to see him. And can we stop again and talk about how good Dexter Soul Ansel is as Egg? This kid is killing it. I don't remember what specifically sparked it, but like I said, I'm taking notes and I'm typing, I'm watching, I'm typing, I'm watching, I'm typing, watching. And then I was just like, man, this kid's good. So I just typed it there. So I'm not sure what triggered it at that time. But yeah, something he was doing. I think that was the I'll sick dogs on you. And he doesn't he's like, you don't have any dogs. And then Dunk's like, I'll buy one. He's like, you don't have any money. He's like, I think that was it. I love that performance. It's so good. This kid's killing it. Okay, so now we meet Baelor Targaryen and Maekar, and they say it weird. I think that's just them making fun of it. The guy who's announcing them calls him Meekar, which is great. Also, Lord Ashford tells Baelor that his daughter's name is Gwen. And this is cool because in the books, though the tourney is literally for her name day, it's for her birthday, we never get a name. So everyone say hi to Gwen. Hi, Gwen. We now know your name. What's up, Gwen? All right. And then we meet Aaron freaking Brightflame. I don't think they call him Brightflame at all here. And he comes in and is swarmy as I expected it. And much like the book, he says the not clever enough when I'm not a stable boy, not clever enough. That's straight out of the book. And other lines are straight out of the book as well in this scene. When Aaron Brightflame leaves and the Kingsguard come and speak to him, and we learn that Roland Crakehall needs to poop. So there's some more of that for you. And that's the whole point. Roland Crakehall comes up and goes, I need to poop. And then Donald says he is the son of a crabber. And I wrote this next bit not knowing about the rest of the episode. So we got some symbolism here showing Dunk that he can make it all the way to the Kingsguard because this guy was a lowly son of a crabber. I fell for it too, Dunk. I wrote it down. I was like, oh, cool. This guy was lowborn. I bit the hook just as much as Dunk did. So yeah, big and stupid. Dunk overhears the royal brothers, and that's Maekar and Baelor. They don't call him Baelor Breakspear either yet, right? I don't think so. So yeah, they are discussing Maekar's missing sons. So this is also straight out of the book, and I'll say this right now. If/when I make my top 13 Targaryen video, which I will do a top 13 Targs vid at some point. Maekar and Baelor are definitely in it. Like, they are both in it. These guys are some of my favorite Targaryens. Maekar might be one of my favorite characters in the Song of Ice and Fire lore at all. And one reason why I have covered, and that's one reason why I've covered both of them in the past. My Baelor video, which you guys can go find, is a lot older. But maybe it holds up. I don't know. My Maekar video is a lot newer, and that absolutely holds up. And it's definitely one of my favorite videos ever made. So then Gwen, who we just met, we know Gwen's name, comes up and tells Dunk that Maekar's kids are missing and that wars have started for less. Then she calls him big and stupid and runs away. And she is not wrong. All right, here we go again. And here is some of that George brand of anti-war. Wars have been fought for just two people. Two rich kids go missing, so thousands have to die. That is some classic George right there, right? I mean, the war for Lyanna. One person, and no, it's totally tragic if somebody kidnaps another person, but does a kidnap because if somebody kidnapped a small folk, an entire war doesn't happen, right? So thousands of people have to die because of something like this, right? Something that happens to small folk all the time. That's the point I'm trying to make, and that is definitely a George thing too. He always says things like that. Almost every war in the Song of Ice and Fire is something that is in something slightly pissed off, or the king or the lords had a bad day, so people have to die, right? That's my throne. And I know that's real world too. That's not just George. So back to the princes. Maekar and Baelor Bragspear. They are clearly talking about Maekar's kids, Darren and Aegon, and how Roland Crakell will go looking for them. Maekar speaks of changing his son, Darren, saying that he's going to make a knight of him. And this is what we call in the industry long-term character development. He is mad that his sons are not who he wants them to be. Will it pay off? We shall see. We won't see anytime soon, but eventually. No one's gonna get that reference. So 2 brothers. It's just called 2 brothers. Dunk is a warrior and put no points in stealth. So Maekar catches him spying. Yeah, he's listening in, and because he's a warrior build, probably more of a barbarian build, really, he has no stealth. So Dunk comes in and explains that he's trying to find a knight to vouch for him, but he failed. And then Baelor's lines, again, are right out of the book, and I love this scene. But I wish Maekar was more of a beef of a man. Just my exact complaint about Lyonel Baratheon is that he's not just a giant beef of a man. And I'm going to go with that with Maekar, too. And sure, I don't mind the look. I think he looks really good. I do like book version of Maekar a little more, where his hair is very long, and he just looks like a somebody who you can't mess with, because Maekar you can't really mess with. he's a heck of a fighter, one of the best, probably at this time, probably tied for one of the best fighters in the entire world at this point. And Maekar's the man, and he just doesn't come off that way. Anyways, wish he was more beefy. And also in the book, this conversation starts differently, which is very cool. So this conversation starts without Dunk knowing who Baelor is. So he's talking, right? And he goes, "Oh, Arlen and Pennytree." And Baelor interrupts. He doesn't talk to Baelor. Dunk doesn't ask Baelor a question. Baelor interrupts with his memories of Arlen without Dunk prompting him. But for the most part, this is word for word. But yeah, Baelor's quiz is straight from the book. But keep in mind, in the book, he doesn't know who this guy is. So this guy started like, "Oh, well, who did he unhorse here? Who did he do this?" And he's asking questions. He's like, "Well, then who is the Grey Lion of Lannister?" And Dunk's like, "Oh, Daemon Lannister." And then Maekar questions his brother, like, "How do you know this stuff?" When Baelor says that he broke 4 lances with Arlen, Dunk says 7. And this is the moment of the book where he realizes it's Baelor, because in the book, he's like, "Oh, I broke 4 lances with him at this tourney." And he goes, "Yeah, that was the Lord of Dragonstone." And Baelor's like, "Yup." And he goes, "Ugh." And how in the show they kept the sudden, "Oh, I'm now going to kneel and say my Lord and my grace." And if he didn't know who he was, they didn't convey that. Maybe it's that. Maybe he doesn't know who Baelor is until that moment. But if that's true in the show, I didn't get that at all. I thought he knew exactly who these guys were when he walked in. And if he walked in not knowing who they are, it's definitely not conveyed that way. Or at least I didn't read it that way. Where was that? That was right here. I kind of wish they kept that detail, and if they did, then it literally went over my head, so they didn't pull it off. Another odd change is that Maekar swears more. I only know this because I'm literally looking at the book and the graphic novel while I'm watching. I'm making comparisons, right? So that's how I watch things, because I'm a nerd. Even if I wasn't writing this, I would watch it that way. You think you're crazy? All right, cool. You don't whip out your graphic novels when you watch things? Come on, nerds. All right. So I know, because every line he says in this scene, I'm looking at him and I'm like, "Oh, that's pretty close. That's pretty close." And then I'm like, "Why is he throwing an F word here?" Okay, whatever. So yeah, Maekar just has the same lines, except he just swears more. And he must know he's on HBO. And he can get away with it. He goes, "Guys, this is HBO. I'm going to drop the F-bombs." What? Nothing. Don't worry about it. Then Dunk is off to get his new shield. Well, it's the same shield. He's just going to go get it painted. And I just came to the realization this is going to be an hour-long video. So the puppet show. The puppet show is weird, like I said. So the giant puppets is a take, I guess, but I guess it's a cool change. I don't know. I'm not really buying it. I just don't know why they had to change it from normal puppets. Wait, why didn't they just do puppets? When Dunk and Egg are talking to Tansel Too Tall, he asks her to paint his shield. Besides the giant puppets, the scene is right out of the book again, except for the change that the puppets are huge. Even the part where she says she paints them and her uncle carves them, that's true, except now her uncle is really impressive because he's carving these gigantic puppets now. So yeah, this is our origin for the serial, which is really cool. Tansel says her name, which is Tansel Too Tall, and Dunk says, "You're not too tall. You're just right for." So yeah, that's exactly how I pictured it. It's right out of the book, and then she's like, "Right for what?" And he goes, "Puppets." So yeah, except with I expect it was Dunk. Or yeah, except it was Dunk who said the puppets part. So yeah, that's the major difference. In the show, Aegon saves him because he's floundering, but no, Dunk doesn't need saving in the book. But yeah. Now for some more non-book stuff. The tug of war is all new. Lyonel might not be as massive as I want him to be, but again, this freaking charisma that Daniel Ings brings to the table with that little butt slap he gives to Dunk. They're definitely flirting. He's definitely into Dunk, and I'm not gonna judge him. Dunk's hot, but like, right? Like it's not in my head, right? Like Lionel's like sub Dunk. Like it can't just be in my head. You guys are lying to yourselves. All right, Steely Pate. I have a video for Steely Pate, by the way. Old one, but oldie but a goodie. Here comes another fan favorite, Steely Pate. Again, it's almost straight out of the book. This scene's really good, except it took place again right after he gets them the first day. So this is a scene that should have been in episode 1 when all those other episode 1 scenes should have been episode 2. So this is something that got flipped, right? So in the book, there is a possibility that Steely is Ibish, like a D&D dwarf from the island of the Ib that doesn't have anything to do with anything. It's just a fun fact that it's not actually said that he's Ibish, but a lot of people treat him like that and think of him as one, as a dwarf. But yeah, D&D dwarf, if you will. So we jump to Dunk selling off Sweetfoot, which I'm pretty sure is the horse. That's the horse he sells in the books. I'm pretty sure that's the horse he sells here. Another thing that's out of order, since in the book he is doing this and then doing this at the stables when the Targaryens arrive. So he is off selling Sweetfoot when he sees Aryan Targaryen. So yeah, this is again out of order. Still an emotional scene, mostly thanks to that amazing music. So yeah, Dunk and Egg are having a drink and dinner when Egg informs Dunk that Donald Duskendale is not a crabber's son, but his father owns half of the crabbing boats in Westeros. So I fell for it too. I was like, oh, they're doing a thing. Like he came up from the streets too. Dang it, nope. Like I fell for it too, Dunk. So yeah, this ruins what I said earlier. The knowledge Dunk has of Donald also gives us a hint that the boy is more than he seems. I said Dunk. The knowledge that Egg has of Donald is still hints at who is Egg. What's up with this kid? Why does he know so much? Right? What's the deal with Egg? So yeah, opening jousts. We're at a minute now, right? Or about to be at a minute. Oh my god. So yeah, horn blows and the pair rushes to the jousting area and Egg sits on Dunk's shoulders. This is one of my favorite details from the book because it makes me think of being on the shoulders when I was like a kid, or when I have my daughter on my shoulders now at like concerts and sporting events. It's just very much like a thing about being a kid is, oh, I can't see anything. And then an adult, hopefully one of you know, puts you on their shoulders, right? So seeing the opening joust is just sick. They do a really good job. And we get some exposition on who Valar is. Exposition. Because it's Egg who's saying it, and it's exposition. That's it. That's what's up. That's why you guys come to me, right? Jokes like that. So we learn who Valar is, and it's very like egregious exposition. It's like, who is that? He is this character. Okay, thanks. You gotta have that sometimes. The heraldry looks on point and it's spot on, right? In the opening joust. I really like it. I'm not sure if they're on the right side, but I was trying to pinpoint the people in the joust in the books compared to this, and I'm like, all right, that's that Tully. He's eating a fish, which is weird. And it's like, okay, that's an Ashford. That's an Ashford. That's a Tyrell. I think I'm figuring it out. But it doesn't look like they're on the right side. That's like, it looks like they're kind of all jumbled and mixed up. But maybe I'm wrong. It was kind of hard because it's so chaotic, which is the point, right? It's supposed to be chaotic. It's a chaotic thing. So, yeah, I think Lord Medgar Tully eating a fish is a show thing, too. I couldn't find it when I was looking through the books. And it's kind of gross. And Egg is right. It is kind of gross. Also, it's a callback to earlier when Egg caught a fish. Egg is also getting into it. He's like, yeah, and he's screaming like a kid at a wrestling match or something. As Dunk has a mini panic attack, and he's thinking about Arlen, but he's also thinking about like, what did I get myself into? Oh no, like it's just so intense, and he's like, dude, I'm gonna die. And then we get a jump cut to Egg play fighting, yelling, die! Do you yield, Blackfire bastards? Now this can't be from the book, because there are zero mentions of Blackfires in the first book. There's plenty in the second and the third, but the first book, I don't think George R.R. Martin knew about the Blackfire Rebellion yet when he wrote this in the 90s. He didn't have the Blackfire all figured out yet, the Blackfire Rebellion. So there are zero mentions of Blackfires in Hedge Knight, which is really funny because ever since we learned that like Baelor Breakspear, Maekar, super involved with, Battle of the Redgrass Field. Like a lot of these characters are super involved with the Blackfire Rebellion, but there's no mention of it in the book until the second book and then the third book. So it's cool because since this show is written now with the knowledge that we all have of the Blackfire Rebellions, right? More of the lore is fleshed out. I was really curious to see how they will be included. It was something I was very intrigued by. Oh, are they going to mention Blackfires more? And yeah, we got one so far. So yeah, put it on the counter. Put it on the Blackfire counter. Egg stops when he sees Dunk sulking, and he asks about Arlen, or he talks about Arlen as usual, and then how he treated him, and how big of a shame is it that all these High Lords don't remember him when he was like a really awesome knight. And yeah, it's about where it ends. And that's where it ends for me. So I just talked for an hour. I think you guys know how I feel about it. I liked it. I do. I think this is going to be really good. It's also a very easy show compared. You're not juggling all these other characters. It's pretty straightforward. And are they changing some things? Yes. Are they adding scenes? Yes. Are they all bad? No, they're not. And I'm kind of liking it. Maybe the giant Wang and the Pooh might be a little too much, maybe, but it's not enough to actually like ruin it for me. I'm just like, here they go. There's another one. It's a big flopper. But anyways, yeah. I want you guys to tell me what you think. Do you think episode 2 is definitely superior than episode 1? Are you excited? What's up? And thank you for watching. If anybody is watching me talk about a show that happened last week and a show that happened today, or today for an hour. But there you guys go. I wanted to kind of give you a different take on reviewing because all of your favorite Song of Ice and Fire YouTubers and their moms are doing videos right now, but I'm going to stick to how I review things, and that is my Let's Talk About the Differences, and I'm going to literally bring up changes with the books. And if that's something you want, that's what I'm going to be giving you. All right? If you wanted 10 minutes of this is what I thought about the episode, that's not me, dog. It's just not who I am as a person. So, yeah, hopefully I do all of these, and I will probably be doing them 2 at a time because I will be working the other week. I'm starting work Friday, 8 p.m. to 8 a.m., and then I'm working Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I'll be working at a graveyard shift. There's no way I'm going to be able to write an episode and get it out. Maybe. We'll see, but I doubt it. So, yeah. That's all I got, guys. Thank you so much. Please click like, subscribe if you want to watch the rest of these. And go check out, I have a video for Maekar. I got a video for Baelor, Steely Pate, Raymond Fossaway, and Valar so far. So, yeah, go check those out. That's it. Peace.